The PlayStation 1 video game Tomb Raider is considered by a lot of people out there one of the best video games in the 1990s. But time has not done this one any wonders. The outdated gameplay mechanics and graphics makes this one tough to play through, but it was a great video game during its time. It's just by today's standards, there is just so many better video games out there, to be honest. Now, I'm not saying this is a horrible video game, far from it, because it is still worth a playthrough in my opinion. So the story of this game is that Lara Croft, who is an archaeologist adventurer, she is hired by a businesswoman named Jacqueline Natla to find the artifact called the Scourge of Atlantis. This game's legacy speaks for itself. I have talked to people throughout the years about it. They say this is a great game, even though it's old, it's outdated. And certainly what's interesting is how there are some dinosaurs in this game. Somebody on the development team was inspired by the first Jurassic Park movie. One thing to note though, had this video game been a failure back then, it would end the franchise before it ever began. But this turned into one of the most iconic video games in the 90s. And while it's not the best video game in the series, it is still entertaining somewhat. Now, I did play through this video game for the first time, but it was only for the first 20 minutes. The reason being because I got quite bored after playing it for that short amount of time. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is an iconic game. But in 2023, I realized why this game doesn't hold up as nearly as well as its future installments. Like, for example, my introduction to Lara Croft, it wasn't until Tomb Raider 2 way back in the late 90s. And so just playing this one made me realize that it feels like the sequel was more fun, if that makes any sense. Like, Lara Croft, she's one of the most recognizable video game characters of all time, with 3 movies, several sequels, a 2013 rebooted game, and even a 2007 remake of this one. One thing I would say though is that despite the lack of enemies, when the music does show up, it's haunting. It fits the vibe of this game really well. And the boss fights, yeah, they're pretty interesting, especially at the end when Lara Croft is fighting a giant mutant. Certainly, just seeing how iconic Lara Croft really is before the Uncharted video games ever did happen. Her exploring underground, caves and, pyramids. And before the series shifted for her going to buildings and exploring, police headquarters and all that. At least this video game, it is nostalgic. A lot of people enjoyed this game for what it was. And there are some people out there that still enjoy this game for what it is. But for me personally, it's just playing this outdated one. It made me realize of why the future installments are better from a gameplay mechanic wise. At the end of the day, if you somehow never played this cult classic, then you can certainly check it out. Sure, it's not great by today's standards in terms of the old gameplay mechanics, but it is a lot of fun and it tells a very interesting story to say the least. I'm giving this video game a 7 out of 10. Yeah, this one's decent by today's standards, but other than the story, this one doesn't offer anything special. Still though, this one did leave its lasting impression on the gaming industry because without Lara Croft, there wouldn't have been a Nathan Drake, and the Uncharted video games wouldn't have been a thing either. And the lasting legacy of Lara Croft is still relevant in today's pop culture. And sure, this one doesn't have a whole lot of replay value. It's still an enjoyable video game experience, especially for people out there who are interested in the franchise but never played through this one. And that is my review of Tomb Raider. Alright, leave your comments down below in the section and let me know what you think about this video game. Now, my review of Tomb Raider 2, I don't know when that's going to be happening. It might not even be this year, but I eventually will get around to it. Okay, this is Slim Guy 172 saying peace out.